I really saw how certain people look at Shedeur, and specifically the older generation, right? The older legends have a lot of respect for Shedeur.
I saw one where Shedeur Sanders was closing his eyes and throwing passes.
A four-time national champion walked into a gym this offseason, watched a Cleveland Browns quarterback throw passes with his eyes closed and just nodded. No fanfare, no announcement. And the footage that broke the internet wasn't even posted by Shedeur's own team. Somebody else caught it, somebody else uploaded it, and by dinner time, the football world couldn't stop talking. But here's what nobody's actually saying out loud. That gym session isn't the story. It's just the latest entry on a list that keeps growing. A list of men who have won at the absolute highest level of this sport, who don't owe Shedeur Sanders a single thing, and who keep choosing to put their credibility next to his name anyway. Kurt Warner, Bernie Kosar, Peyton Manning, Hanford Dixon, and now Jim Tressel. 5 legends, 5 separate moments, 5 independent conclusions about the same quarterback. So before the hot takes start flying, and they always do, ask yourself one thing. When was the last time you saw that many respected football minds land on the same verdict about a guy who hasn't even started a full NFL season yet? By the end of this video, you'll have your answer.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
And it was like dinner time, 4th workout of the day. I'm like, 4 workouts? Man, Josh Allen, I don't see any evidence that he even has had 1 workout. And our quarterback has 4. And then, is there even more after that? Is there 5 and 6? Like, these guys, they are on the grind. They are on the hustle. And I'm telling you, I just think this is setting up. Todd Monken has clearly planted that seed that you guys, gentlemen, are in a competition. Get out there, close your eyes, throw some passes, workout, hustle, workout, grind, workout, lunch, workout, dinner, workout.
None of this is real.
Go to the D3 schools, work out some more, have Jim Tressel come and hang out.
Before this story lands the way it should, you need to understand exactly who Jim Tressel is. Not the general idea of him, the full picture. Because if you glance at the name and keep scrolling, you're missing the entire weight of what happened in that gym. Tressel didn't build his name at Ohio State. He built it long before that at Youngstown State, where he won 4 Division IA national championships. Not 1, not 2, 4. That's a level of sustained dominance that most coaches never achieve at any level of the sport, and he did it before he ever coached a single snap in a Power 5 program. Then comes Ohio State. From 2001 to 2010, Tressel goes 94-22. He beats Michigan consistently, something that carries its own weight in that rivalry. He reaches 3 BCS national championship games, and in 2002, he takes the Buckeyes through an entire season without a single loss and wins the national title outright. That is the complete resume of the man who showed up to run Shedeur Sanders through drills this offseason.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Shout out to Boog, because obviously Shedeur is putting in some work, and obviously when you're putting in work with somebody this legendary in the world of football and Jim Tressel, right? You're talking about national champion, and just so we all know, because I printed it out, I have it right here for you. We're talking about national champion. We're talking about a Division I AA 4-time national championship at Youngstown State. We're talking about the president of Youngstown State was at Ohio State from 01 to 2010, when 94-22 overall against Rival Michigan, reaching 3 BCS national championship games, and then the 2002 national championship game, which was an undefeated season. Look, this, when I saw this, and by the way, obviously I know Shedeur putting in work. And
it was like dinner time, 4th workout of the day. I'm like, 4 workouts? Man, Josh Allen, I don't see any evidence that he even has had 1 workout. And our quarterback has 4. And then, is there even more after that? Is there 5 and 6? Like, these guys, they are on the grind, they are on the hustle, and I'm telling you, I just think this is setting up. Todd Monken has clearly planted that seed that you guys, gentlemen, are in a competition. Get out there, close your eyes, throw some passes, work out, hustle.
Other people's cameras months apart, and that distinction matters enormously. Because men who have won at that level don't keep returning unless they see something real worth coming back for. Their time has value, their name has weight. They don't hand either one out casually. Think about what it actually takes to get Jim Tressel to keep showing up. This is a man who's coached players that went on to NFL careers. He's been in rooms with elite talent his entire professional life. He knows the difference between a guy who looks the part and a guy who actually has it. And whatever he's seeing in Shedeur Sanders is keeping him in that gym, session after session, when he could be doing absolutely anything else with his summer. There's also something worth pointing out about how this all surfaced. Shedeur's own team didn't post it. No coordinated release, no timed drop for engagement. Someone else caught it and put it out, and the story spread from there. That's a small detail, but it tells you something real about the nature of what's happening. The work is being done regardless of whether the camera is pointed at it. And when a four-time national champion is the one putting you through your paces, and your camp isn't even broadcasting it, that's a different kind of credibility than anything a highlight reel can manufacture. But what exactly happened during that session that stopped the football world mid-scroll? That part of the story is even more telling than the name on the guest list. The clip that got everyone talking wasn't a cannon throw down the sideline. It wasn't a scramble or a no-look pass designed for the algorithm. It was Shedeur Sanders standing in a gym, closing his eyes and completing the rep anyway. Clean, confident, like his body already knew exactly where the ball needed to go before his eyes had a chance to confirm it. And on the surface, that looks like content. The internet treated it exactly that way: reactions, stitches, people debating whether it was impressive or performative. But what got buried underneath all of that is the context wrapped around that moment. According to what's been reported and what analysts were reacting to in real time, that eyes closed drill wasn't how Shedeur started his day. It was somewhere deep into his fourth, possibly fifth, workout of that single day. By dinner time, 4 documented workouts before most people had finished their evening commute. That detail stopped analysts mid-sentence on air. One of them said it plainly. He hadn't seen a single piece of documented off-season workout footage from Josh Allen, not one clip, not one verified session. Meanwhile, Shedeur was already 4 deep before the sun finished going down. And the question that followed got laughs in the moment but was completely serious underneath the surface. Is there a 5? Does session 6 happen
Before going
after that?
further, if you're enjoying
Nobody
this video,
actually
don't forget to
confirmed it
smash
either
that
way.
subscribe button. It really
And
helps
that
us keep bringing you the
uncertainty is
content you
kind of the
love.
whole
Share
point.
this video with your friends so they
Here's
don't
what
miss out
people
on all the
consistently
drama
get
and
wrong
excitement.
about
Draft Kurt
off-season
Warner.
work.
NFL Legend says my
The fact that the
evaluation of
player
Shedeur is that he was the most
extra
accurate quarterback.
reps
I thought in
in
this
July
draft,
isn't a story on
Warner,
its own.
what's it called?
Every
I thought in this
player
draft,
in the
when he
league
sets
works
his
in the
feet, when he's
offseason.
comfortable in the pocket
That's
and he
the
delivers the
baseline,
football, the
not the
ball
headline.
goes where he wants it to
The
go.
story is
And,
what
you know,
kind of work,
not Shedeur,
at what
but
volume,
Kurt Warner also
and
did a
who's in
really
the
good
room
breakdown
watching
on
while it
Shedeur's debut
When a
against the
four-time
Ravens, and I really
national
feel like
champion is
he did a
standing
good job.
across from you
Again,
during workout number 4, and your own camp isn't even the one posting the footage. That's a completely different version of the off-season grind narrative than what most guys are putting out on social media. There's also a technical reason why the eyes closed drill means more than it looks like it means. At a basic level, closing your eyes during a throwing rep removes visual confirmation from the equation entirely. What's left is pure muscle memory, the accumulated result of thousands of repetitions, where your body has learned the geometry of the throw without needing your eyes to verify it. You don't get there through casual work. You get there through the kind of volume that turns conscious effort into automatic response. And you don't arrive at that point on workout number 1. You arrive there after the kind of daily commitment that makes workout number 4 feel like a natural part of the schedule. The analysts laughing about the Josh Allen comparison were really just describing something real from a comedic angle. The grind is documented. The habits are visible. And those habits are pointing directly into a quarterback competition that's more complicated than most people are admitting. Let's be completely straight about what's happening inside that Cleveland Browns quarterback room, because some of the coverage around Shedeur has been painting a picture that's a little too clean and a little too inevitable. This is not a coronation. Todd Monken has made that point clearly enough that it shouldn't need repeating, but here it is anyway. The starting quarterback job in Cleveland is not assigned. It is earned. Deshaun Watson is in that room. Dillon Gabriel is in that room. And Shedeur Sanders is in that room. All three of them are competing for the same position. And the man making the decision is going to base it on what he sees when real football starts happening. Practice reps, film sessions, pre-snap processing, and whether the guy calling plays in the huddle has the trust of the people around him when things go sideways. No workout clip settles that. No legend endorsement closes that argument. Monken is watching the competition play out on the field, not on social media. So why does any of the off-season activity actually matter? Because what a player does when nothing is officially on the line, yet reveals something that mandatory practice can't always show you. When the coaching staff isn't grading every rep, when there's no game film being reviewed the next morning, when the pressure of the season hasn't arrived yet, what does a guy do with that open space? That answer tells you about the person, not just the player.
About Shedeur, he thinks Shedeur is a QB1. He thinks he's got the right stuff. Bernie Kosar and Shedeur have seemed to grow a really good relationship. From what I understood, they never had a previous relationship. What happened was Shedeur got there, he was working hard, and apparently he showed Bernie Kosar, the greatest Browns quarterback of all time. Somebody please, check me. Well, I mean, not of all time, Otto Graham, XYZ, but of the modern era, right? The last great Cleveland Browns quarterback, right? He seemed to really appreciate what Shedeur brings to it.
And the person walking into that building every morning is the one who has to sustain a competition that's going to get intense fast. Now, there's a layer to this competition that doesn't get discussed enough. Deshaun Watson brings NFL starting experience and a contract situation that creates its own kind of organizational complexity. Dillon Gabriel came out of college with the kind of efficiency numbers that get front office attention. Neither of them is a placeholder. Monken genuinely has options, and he's made clear he intends to use the competition to find the right answer rather than arrive at a predetermined one. Rumors have been circulating, and it's worth framing this as exactly that. Rumors that the Browns' front office may have its own preferences that don't map perfectly onto what the coaching staff sees purely from a football standpoint. Nothing confirmed, nothing sourced with names attached, but the kind of chatter that doesn't completely come from nowhere in a league where organizational dynamics always run underneath the football decisions. Take that for what it is. What Shedeur can actually control sits entirely on his side of the ledger. The work, the habits, the daily presence, and the relationships he's building with people who have been exactly where he's trying to go. And right now, that side of the equation looks as strong as it's ever looked for a young quarterback entering the most important competition of his career. The off-season sets the stage. The practice field delivers the verdict. But the legends showing up aren't just background noise. And the first name on that list said something specific enough to stop the conversation cold. Before the draft, before the selection, before Shedeur ever suited up in a Cleveland Browns uniform and took a live snap against the Baltimore Ravens, Kurt Warner was already on record with his evaluation. And the way he said it wasn't a hype line, it was a technical read from a technical mind. Warner is not a guy who operates in vague enthusiasm. He played the quarterback position at an elite level, won a Super Bowl, and built a Hall of Fame career that started in circumstances nobody would have written into a script. He understands what the position demands from the inside in a way that most analysts never can, because most analysts never played it at that level. When he talks about a quarterback's mechanics and decision-making, he's drawing on something real. What he said about Shedeur was direct. He called him the most accurate quarterback in the entire 2025 draft class, not one of the more accurate ones, the most accurate. And his explanation was specific: when Shedeur sets his feet, when he's comfortable in the pocket, and when he delivers the ball goes exactly where he intends it to go. That's not a general compliment about potential. That's a targeted evaluation of a specific skill, from someone who spent his career mastering that exact skill. Warner didn't stop after the draft either. When Shedeur made his NFL debut against the Ravens, Warner came back and did a full film breakdown. Real film. Not a narrative built around a storyline, not a take designed to generate clicks. He showed the good throws in their actual context. He showed the difficult moments with the same honesty. And the way he approached the whole thing carried an underlying respect. The kind you extend to a quarterback you're treating as a real player working through real challenges, not a punchline or a curiosity. That approach tells you something important about where Warner's evaluation actually sits. He's not attached to a feel-good story about Shedeur. He's attached to what the film shows him. And so far, what the film has shown him is consistent enough that his initial evaluation hasn't shifted. In a league where narratives flip overnight and talking heads change their takes based on one bad quarter, Warner staying in the same place based on the same evidence is its own form of credibility. Now, Warner's read is coming from tape study and broadcast observation. It's credible and it carries real weight. But there's a different category of endorsement that hits harder, the kind that comes from someone who's been watching Shedeur work in person, up close, every single day. The kind of evaluation you can only make when you've seen the whole routine, not just the highlights that make it onto someone's timeline. That endorsement came from a man who knows exactly what it costs to play quarterback in Cleveland, and what he said didn't leave much room for interpretation. Bernie Kosar had no reason to go public. That's the part of this story that deserves more attention than it's been getting. There was no prior relationship between Kosar and Shedeur Sanders before this year. No history, no shared camp, no connection that would create a natural obligation to say something positive. Kosar is the last Cleveland Browns quarterback that this city's fan base can point to and say, that guy was ours, that guy was real, that guy gave us something worth remembering. He played in an era when this franchise still had an identity at the position, and he understands the weight of that job in that building better than almost anyone still connected to the organization. He didn't owe Shedeur a quote. He didn't owe him a public statement. He didn't owe him anything. What happened was straightforward. Shedeur showed up in Cleveland. He got to work. And Kosar, who's been around enough quarterbacks to know the difference between one who's serious and one who's managing appearances, noticed. Kosar went on record saying Shedeur has the right stuff. He said he believes in him as a QB1. And when he explained why, he didn't lead with arm talent or athletic ability or any of the measurable traits that dominate pre-draft conversation. He led with habit. First guy out to the practice field. Last one to leave. Individual drills on his own time that nobody's requiring him to run and nobody's grading him on. That's the version of Shedeur that got Kosar's attention. Not the clip that went viral, the routine that exists when no clip is being made. There's another element Kosar brought up that tends to get skipped over in the coverage. He talked about Shedeur's presence with people around the facility, signing autographs after sessions, being genuinely accessible rather than performing accessibility. And Shedeur's response when that came up on camera was the kind of answer that either sounds authentic or it doesn't. He said there's no reason to fake anything at this point in his life. No strategy behind the behavior, just who he is. Here's why that answer matters beyond the surface. Shedeur has been giving some version of that same response since his days at Youngstown State. The framing changes slightly depending on the context, but the core of it stays consistent. He's not performing a character. He's just moving through the world the way he actually moves through it. When an answer stays consistent across years and circumstances, without evolving into something more polished or calculated, that's usually because it's true. And when Bernie Kosar, a man who carried the weight of an entire franchise on his arm, who knows exactly what Cleveland asks of its quarterbacks, looks at a young player and says he's got the right stuff, the people in that city who have been waiting a long time for a real answer at the position tend to stop and listen. Warner and Kosar arrived at the same place through completely different paths. Then comes the rest of the list, and the pattern it creates is nearly impossible to dismiss. Lay them all out in one place and look at what you're actually looking at. Kurt Warner, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, one of the most technically credible voices on quarterback evaluation in the sport today. He studied Shedeur's tape against an entire draft class and landed on most accurate passer in the group. No prior relationship, no angle, just film study and an honest read. Bernie Kosar, the last quarterback Cleveland Browns fans actually had reason to believe in during the modern era. A man who played the position in that city under that pressure and understands its demands better than almost anyone. He had zero connection to Shedeur before this year, watched him show up and work, and went public with his backing. In-person observation, a relationship built from nothing into something real. Peyton Manning, possibly the most analytically sophisticated quarterback who ever played the game. He ran Shedeur through routes on a nationally televised ESPN platform, not a courtesy wave, not a staged moment, an actual working session that aired in front of the whole country. Manning doesn't show up for things that aren't worth his time. That's been true his entire career. Hanford Dixon, a man who played in Cleveland, who loves that franchise and who has watched a long and painful rotation of quarterbacks cycle through that building without any of them sticking. He didn't hedge. He said plainly, give Shedeur the real opportunity to start. Not a conditional, not a maybe pending training camp. A straight public take. And now Jim Tressel, 4 national championships, 94 wins at Ohio State, a career defined by building programs and developing players who go on to do real things at the next level. He's spending his summer in a gym with a Cleveland Browns quarterback on what might be that quarterback's 4th workout of the day, running eyes-closed drills when most people are winding down for dinner. 5 men, 5 completely separate moments, 5 independent paths to the same destination. Now, the skeptical version of this story exists, and it's worth acknowledging. There are people, reasonable people, who point out that Shedeur Sanders runs one of the more sophisticated personal branding operations in sports, that Shedeur's public image has been carefully shaped since high school, and that some of what gets framed as organic could carry a layer of intentional strategy underneath it. That's a fair question to sit with. But here's where that argument runs directly into a wall. Jim Tressel doesn't need the platform. Bernie Kosar's reputation doesn't grow from backing a rookie. Kurt Warner's Hall of Fame credentials aren't enhanced by attaching his name to a quarterback who hasn't started a full season. These men have nothing to gain from manufactured association. They've been around enough real talent to immediately recognize performed seriousness versus the actual thing. 5 of the most credible radars in football history are reading the same signal. That's not a coincidence you can explain away with a branding strategy. Here's the honest part of this entire conversation, and it matters enough that it needs its own space without softening it. No legend endorsement wins Shedeur Sanders the starting quarterback job in Cleveland. Not one of them. Not all 5 combined. Todd Monken is going to watch him compete against Deshaun Watson and Dillon Gabriel when training camp opens and real football starts happening. He's going to track how fast Shedeur processes what a defense is showing him before the snap. He's going to watch what happens when a drill breaks down and the huddle needs someone to reset the energy, not when everything is clicking, but when it isn't. He's going to sit in film rooms and evaluate decisions made at full speed under real pressure. And the teammates in that quarterback room are going to form their own read on who they trust when the moment gets heavy. That's where the job gets decided. On a practice field in Cleveland, not in a July gym session, and not in a quote from a Hall of Famer on a podcast. Deshaun Watson brings NFL starting experience and an organizational investment that carries its own weight in these conversations. Dillon Gabriel finished his college career with efficiency, numbers that front offices pay attention to. This is a real competition, and anyone framing it as already settled is either operating on wishful thinking or a particular narrative they want to be true. Neither of those is the same as what's actually going to happen on the field. There's also the organizational layer that sits underneath the football decisions, and it's worth being direct about the fact that speculation around it exists without pretending it's confirmed. Rumors have floated that the Browns' front office dynamics around this quarterback competition may not map perfectly onto what plays out purely on merit at practice. No names attached to that, nothing verified, nothing sourced with real credibility, but the kind of chatter that tends to circulate in NFL circles when a situation has more moving parts than the public version of events suggests. File that under things worth watching rather than things worth concluding anything about yet. What none of that changes is the side of the ledger Shedeur actually controls, the daily work that keeps leaking through other people's cameras, the habits that Kosar noticed before he said a single public word about them, the consistency that makes Kurt Warner's evaluation hold up months after he first gave it, and the willingness to keep putting in session 4 of the day when session 2 would have been enough for most people to feel good about their preparation. Legends showing up doesn't hand anyone anything. What it does is confirm something that's harder to fake than a highlight reel. It confirms what the daily reality looks like when the season isn't here yet and nobody's requiring the work to happen. Training camp will give everyone the answers they're actually waiting for, but the off-season already asked a question, and Shedeur's answer to it has been the same every single morning. Here's where everything lands. Jim Tressel, Kurt Warner, Kosar, Peyton Manning, Hanford Dixon, 5 men who have operated at the absolute ceiling of this sport. 5 separate moments, 5 independent reads, all pointing the same direction. None of it replaces what has to happen when training camp opens and Todd Monken starts making real decisions based on real football. The competition in that quarterback room is genuine, the stakes are real, and the job doesn't belong to anyone yet. But the pattern underneath all of this off-season noise is not something you can dismiss with a hot take or explain away with a branding argument. Men like Tressel and Kosar and Warner don't attach their credibility to someone casually. They've been around enough talent to know the difference between a player who looks serious and one who actually is. And right now, every one of them is reading the same thing. So here's what we want to know from you. Does the legend endorsement list actually mean something heading into camp? Or is this all just noise that disappears the second real football starts? Drop your take in the comments right now. If you're riding with Shedeur this season, make some noise below. Gridiron Ground, we'll see you in the next one.